Hi, all. Kinsey Schofield here. I am waiting for this is classic Kinsey and Cristo. I am waiting for Cristo, despite the fact that we made an arrangement that we were going to go live at 7 p.m. his time. He is not here. So I'm going to hang out with you while we wait for Cristo, if that's all right with you, because I feel bad that I had 7 people waiting for us. So, I guess what do we do? Like, how do I tap dance while I wait for Cristo to come on? And here's my favorite part. Cristo's going to Hi, Lamia. Cristo's going to come in here and he's going to be like, is my mic working? What do I look like? Oh, he's here. As I'm so savage. Okay, I don't see him yet, so I don't want to fully pull him in. But yeah, so what we're going to talk to you guys live today. Thank you so much for everybody that's already tuning in. I'm pleasantly surprised to see you. I'm waiting to see Cristo's camera pop up and to hear his voice. But what we're going to talk to you about today is Meghan's red carpet appearance last night. That was a surprise. Oh, Ontario, Canada. I love Canada. So good to see you, Kat. Huzzah! New Zealand. Oh, thank you. The dynamic duo, Dolores says. Thank you so much for watching. And Chris, it looks like Cristo's coming in any second now. I just did not want to keep you waiting anymore. I see him. I think I'm just going to add him,
me?
see what happens.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Oh, well, I'm using my super duper new webcam.
Well, it's not working.
It's not working, but it's because it's saying that. Oh, hang on, start cam. No. I mean, it's got the light on it, and I've used my settings.
Can you go to settings?
No, I've done that. I'm going to unplug it, plug it back in. I'll unplug it.
And you went to camera, and you put in the specific camera that you're using?
Yeah, I've plugged it. I've plugged the camera back in. Hang on.
Oh, hi, Kat. So good to see you. Boston. Great to see you, Boston. I was in Boston around this time last year to see William and Catherine. It was the best experience ever. Look at that stallion. Look at that stud muffin, Cristo. Can you see the comments?
Behind me?
Yeah, it's beautiful. It says Majesty.
Hold on.
Here he goes, guys. It is like trying to wrestle an alligator with Cristo.
Now look, I'm going to turn it down a little bit. Oh, hang on.
Sweden, Ingrid from Sweden. Hi, Ingrid from Sweden. Beautiful.
I'm dimming as we speak. Look, I can dim it.
Ireland, the Republic of Ireland. Oh my gosh, you stud muffin. I love it so much.
Do you like it?
It's beautiful.
Which side should I go with it? Should I go this side?
That looks great. This side, I told you guys he was going to roll in and it was going to be like, can you hear me? What does this look like?
Look, but can you see, if I go this side, you can get my letter in from Jackie Collins, which is friend. I'm gay. Wait. Or if you go this side, you can get my picture of Grace Jones. I'm going to go here.
I like it. I like it. Hi, Lindsay from Scotland. Okay, can you see the comments in the corner, Cristo?
Oh, I can. Hello.
People from Germany, all over the world, Quebec. Oh my gosh, this is so wild. You guys must just love your Cristo. Okay, so Cristo, could you believe when you woke up this morning that Meghan Markle has hit the red carpet again? I'd love your first reaction to that.
Well, of course, she's trying to upstage the crown, isn't she? I mean, that's exactly what she is trying to do. I'm just gonna look at the photographs at the moment. It's the Power of Women gala. Yeah, she loves women so much, unless they're named Kate. Meghan and Harry's children are enjoying every minute of the holidays, she told reporters. And I'm just going to actually, you might hear the audio.
No, don't do it. Don't do it because I don't want us to get flagged on YouTube for using content that we don't own.
Oh, okay. Well, it was on mute, thankfully. And I'm so glad to see her head to toe in beige, which was,
I
of
know.
course, the colour that she never wanted, that she was forced to wear by the royal family. Do you remember? The
I
royal family
do.
forced her to wear beige. And there she is in beige again.
I know. It's just classic hypocrisy. Hi, Krista. So good to see you too. Liz,
Where have people found you? Where are we streaming? I don't even know.
this is my jail cell. We are
Oh,
actually in prison right now. Perth, thank you so much. Yeah, so
so are
Megan,
you streaming on your site though, or are we on YouTube, or where
yeah,
are we?
we're streaming on my site. Thank
Oh,
you,
amazing.
Sandy. We love you too. So yeah, so this is to me, it's everything we've been talking about the build up to. Meghan is ready to take on Tinseltown. Meghan wants to be a power player. She wanted to be in the room with all of these people that really do the work and are accomplished as she,
Mm. Does she know she'd have to turn up? Because remember when she did her her archetypes podcast, she obviously didn't actually go to any of the interviews. And does she remember that acting does involve like going to the studio? She can't call in her lines.
Right, right. Well, I did talk to I talked to a psychic a few weeks ago and asked about Megan's
Oh.
2024 pursuits, and they said she did not like the work, but she was going to work hard to try to win over the public's
Ah, okay. So
affection.
she was going to work hard to not have to work.
Yeah, he said
You
she
asked,
did not like this work, but she would have to work hard to win over the public because the public was just not interested.
did you ask the psychic about my rash that's
No,
not going?
well, that's next time.
Will
But
you?
Fernie would probably be happy to discuss.
It's another 3 years that it's been going on now, and I need your psychic to help with it. It's very itchy. I think. Oh, actually, I've always got the 8 hour cream.
No, don't do it. No, not on YouTube. I can't. I don't want to get in trouble.
Okay, fair enough. So Liz says she has a knack for finding the most awful clothes in existence. Liz, I'm going to disagree with you there. Sometimes, like when she wore that green outfit, Meghan,
Mm.
that
They
sort of
called that
emerald,
her revenge outfit. Remember,
she
because
looked
they had
amazing. In that she did actually look amazing when she wore that. I liked her engagement outfit as well. Remember when she was
that
happy? She
coat.
had that cream coat.
Mm,
Yeah, I
yeah,
thought she looked great in that. I think sometimes she can look amazing. I will give credit where it is due.
yeah. I think that honestly, if I'm being honest, I think that things went south when she got rid of her friend Jessica Mulroney. That's when
Hmm.
her style completely changed.
Well, hang on. You're going to have to be a bit more specific. This was a friend that she acted with.
Jessica was her stylist. Remember, this
Stylist
is
friend.
this is the lady
Okay.
that when Jessica got caught up in um, a BLM controversy,
Mhm.
Megan dropped her.
In a BDSM controversy.
No, you have to watch yourself because we will get in trouble on YouTube.
We can say the words BDSM on YouTube.
BLM.
Well,
When
they're not gonna throw us off YouTube for saying that, are they?
um one of her somebody accused Jessica of having white privilege, and Jessica responded to it, and the woman called her out, and Megan just totally dropped her off the face of the planet.
Oh, well, again, if you're talking about Meghan, you'll have to be more specific because the litany of people that she has dropped when they're no longer of any use to her is quite staggering. And let's not forget, including members of her own family. I mean,
I
if we're
know.
gonna if we're gonna talk about white privilege, I mean, just look at the list of wedding guests. No black family members other than her mother. I mean, that's
Oh
white
my
privilege in
gosh.
action, isn't it? Oh,
I just
a few black people that she'd never actually met before, like Oprah and Idris Elba. It's nice that she invited them, having never met them, but her
well,
own family, no.
Well, I do think that this might be the first sign that we see of Meghan keeping the red carpets hot. Obviously, Harry wasn't there. They said Harry wasn't there because it was a night to honor women. I suspect Harry wasn't there because yesterday was the premiere of The Crown, and he knew he was going to have people yelling questions at him about these four really polarizing episodes. I mean, how many times? Oh, you haven't? Have you watched all 4 episodes yet?
No, I've watched one and a half. So I've watched episode 1 and half of episode 2, and that is because my internet here in the UK. Do you have internet in America?
Yeah, we just got it.
You have the interweb. I'm just checking. And halfway through the second episode, at a very crucial moment, and I needed to go to bed because I was doing a TV show this morning. So, and then my internet went down and it wouldn't load. And I think it was the moment that the Queen, if I remember rightly, was opening the Sunday papers that Diana's romp around Saint-Tropez with Dodie was featured in. So I
Mm,
think that was the moment. The Queen was literally just about to open the newspaper and my internet went down. So I thought, okay, this is the reason why I have to go to bed. So
yeah.
but I have to say, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it more this series than I did last series. Last series something didn't gel. I don't know whether because it's so Diana heavy, this 1.5 episodes that I've seen. But I'm really enjoying it so far. I can't wait, actually. I mean, I love you dearly, but I can't wait to get off this and go down and watch a little bit more. How about you?
Yeah, so I've watched all 4 episodes, and hi to everybody that's entered the chat. I love you too. Thank you so much for saying hi.
Trisha,
I
Kate,
yes.
lots of people. Krista, something about real world tap. And oh, by the way, Krista says on the subject of Meghan's outfits, remember the christening picture where all the royal ladies in line with protocol were in white, except for Meghan, who showed up in Bath green. That's some American, isn't it? Bath green.
Yeah. Well, my point was going to be that
Yeah,
Diana dies multiple times in the 4 episodes. Like, it's not just a one and done. So I know that
dies
people want.
multiple times.
Yeah, they revisit it a couple of times. So I know that, like, the actual thing. So I know that probably William and Harry just don't want to be out and about, and they don't want to deal with that right now.
So because it opens with spoiler alert, everyone, but it opens with the Mercedes sort of going into the tunnel and then goes 8 weeks earlier. I was surprised that they just went for it and opened with that, but
I
also
was too.
surprised um that they didn't do a build up to it, because they're really on, for want of a better phrase, which is a bit uncouth, but like the home stretch of her life, really. I mean, this is the end. Whereas I
Right.
wondered whether they might go sort of a year before rather than go just a few weeks. Where did we leave it at the end of the last series? They got divorced, but there was a year between, I think, their divorce and her actually dying.
I
So
don't know, because I really did not like. I watched season 4 multiple times. I did not like season 5 at all. It was a one and done for me.
yeah, same with me. And so I was surprised that there wasn't, but I think we ended on season 5 with them divorcing, and they're sort of strangely amicable when Charles popped into Kensington Palace to see her, and they were sort of strangely amicable, but not really. Um, but I'm surprised. So anyway, they start off with the Mercedes going in the tunnel, then they flash back to 8 weeks earlier, um, and so I'm amazed that it's so near to her death that they are
Mhm.
starting. But it does feel like they are rinsing every moment of that 8 weeks in as much as they can, because we've seen, in, think the first episode was when she went to Saint Tropez and was with Mohammed Al Fayed and was on holiday there, and then Dodie was called to come along. And then the second episode, she's been on a private yacht with Dodie, but the papers have somehow found out, and it's obviously in it, it's implied. Well, it's more than implied. They
Yeah.
say that Mohammed, called and tipped the paparazzi.
Which
Uh,
actually, historically, it's actually known to be Diana that tipped off the paparazzi about her and her relationship with Dodie, because she was trying to make Dr. Hasnet Khan jealous. So as I
yes,
was watching that, I was a little bit annoyed that we were going to villainize Muhammad Al-Fayed and make him this sinister, creature that like created all this drama when historically it's been reported that it was Diana that tipped off the paparazzi because she wanted to upset Muhammad or she wanted to upset Dr. Khan.
Hasn't Khan.
Yeah.
But also, but I suppose we did have all of that in the last series as well. That's all coming back to me now. So maybe this was the right time to start the new series chronologically. But the other thing was that I saw, the butler who just never goes away, which is of course Paul Burrell, and he just never ever goes. I mean, there's just missing a butler, and there's one that keeps coming back. I call him the boomerang butler because every time you think he's gone, there he comes right back in again. And I saw him on television this morning saying that he can't watch The Crown because of, and presumably he hadn't seen any of this new series because
right, and he called it. So I had to react to his reaction, and he called the death scene grotesque, and I was like, it wasn't. I mean, I'm not defending it. I think it's weird to recreate somebody's death, especially somebody that is seen as a martyr today, but it's not a grotesque scene.
I haven't seen that scene yet,
okay.
But but one of the criticisms I saw that was reported of him, so I'm just adjusting my lighting so I look as good as you. One of the criticisms that I saw of him, I do this one as well. My word, look at this. Oh my word.
Hi, Eve from New Jersey.
I'm lit like Cher. I think one of the things I saw him saying was that it was a bit miserable in as much as they didn't really harness Diana's sense of humor. And I thought, and what I've watched so far, the 90 minutes I've watched so far, I think she's coming across really funny. Throwing the ice cubes around and, giggling with William and Harry and winding them up and winding up Charles a bit. So
singing Chumbawamba. Have you seen her singing Chumbawamba yet? Yes.
So I thought that was, I think her sense of humor really does come across in these episodes anyway. Maybe not so much in the last series, but in this series, I think it really does. And the moment that really sticks out for me in these episodes so far of what I've seen is when she calls William back for a cuddle and he's holding his bag and she says, oh, it's only 8 weeks. And, and she says it's a lifetime. And that's the last time they're ever going to see each other. And that's a really sad moment.
Yeah, I agree. Hi, Sarah. People still want to talk about Meghan Markle last night, so let's jump back into it. Yes, Margot Robbie was there. She did bring her husband. So I do think that obviously there was an ulterior motive in not bringing Prince Harry. Aside from The Crown coming out, Omid Scobie's book is about to be released, and the Sussexes are it's wild to me that they can deny that they had anything to do with this book based on the fact that they denied that they had anything to do with the last book. So it's just like, why even do that? It just looks, it's a joke at this point.
No, Kinsey. They forgot that they contributed to the last book because, as I've said to you before, and I'll say it again. So the other day I forgot, it was my parents' anniversary. And I forgot my keys. That was a nightmare. And I forgot that I contributed to an internationally best-selling biography of myself. It's such an easy mistake to make, isn't it? Your keys, your password, your anniversary, and an international bestseller.
Exactly. Yeah. No. And then you just have to casually apologize to the court over it. So I think that clearly Harry wasn't on Meghan's arm last night because I don't think he likes those types of things. I don't think he might like being in the room, but he doesn't like the press line. He doesn't like the red carpet and the step and repeat. And B, I think, Richard Kay said recently, Harry is holding Meghan back professionally. I think that's likely very true. And this was
Meghan is holding Harry back physically. Literally. Don't leave the house, Harry.
And I think that she was probably thrilled to be on her own last night, representing herself. And hanging out with Leonardo DiCaprio and actually engaging with some of these people that would not give her the time of day 5 years ago.
And it's quite telling, actually. I don't even know if you did this, but you mentioned Margot Robbie, who, of course, is famous for playing a plastic doll. And then you mentioned Omid Scobie, who is, of course, famous for looking like a plastic doll.
You're gonna get me in trouble. You're so bad.
I mean, what does I mean? It's like I don't even know now what his face resembles. I don't think it's anything. Have you ever seen the there's a have you ever seen Thunderbirds?
No, but I'll Google it.
Okay, Thunderbirds or Terrorhawks. It's one of those children's TV shows from the 60s where it's like puppets and they're on strings and they're well, they're plastic.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Well, I have a visual. I have a visual.
okay, let's have a look at some of the comments. Hey, Cristo, you're looking, says Barbara, you're looking cute in your burgundy scarf today. Thank you. That's very kind. They must have contributed, says Diana. Mr. Plastic Fantastic spouts private conversations. Was he there? Well, he has been apparently in LA the last few weeks. Obviously, complete coincidence that he's got a book coming out about Meghan and Harry, and he happens to have been in LA because
Well,
I'm sure that they didn't contribute.
someone left me a really interesting comment saying that they felt like Omid Scobie, this book was for the American audience because he's desperate to move to America and be the American royal correspondent because he's not very liked, allegedly, in the UK and not respected in the UK. So he wants this book.
Sorry, go on.
So he wants this book to bring him to America so that he can become the go-to American royal correspondent. But it's like, you're trashing the royal family. You can't be giving the royal family the middle finger and decide that you're going to be the go-to expert on them.
So does it upset him, do you think, that people in the UK don't like him very much?
I would assume so.
The thing is,
But it's a very lucrative business for him, that what he's done.
But also, how would you possibly know? I mean, his face looks exactly the same. Sad, happy, distressed,
Be
scared.
serious. Be serious.
It's exactly the same. So I think I think that I'm cynical that he's not contributed to this. And of course, we're getting things about this that she's not contributed to this because now we've heard, and this was reported this week, that Meghan urged Harry to answer his phone before he accepted the call, just as it stopped ringing when he got the news that the Queen was dying. According to Omid Scobie, who is a close friend of the Duke of Sussex, he claims that the Sussexes were not in the loop when Buckingham Palace began preparing for the Queen's death.
Who said
Now,
that? What outlet said he's a close friend of the Duke of Sussex? Because both parties claim that they are not affiliated with each other and that they are not friends.
well, that's very true. I mean, probably Omid Scobie is telling anyone who'll listen. I don't know. Apparently, it was People that said this.
Oh, that's interesting because Omid gave People the excerpt of his book. So it's interesting that People would report that.
And it's been reported in the Mail Online. Harry is said to have received a call from an unknown number, which he would routinely ignore, but he accepted the call in the last few seconds at the behest of his wife, Meghan. You should answer it, Meghan reportedly told the Duke in the excerpt shared with People. And that was from then King Charles, as it was Prince Charles then, who urged the Prince to leave for Scotland immediately as he and Camilla made their way to Balmoral from Dumfries House to join Princess Anne at the Queen's side. I mean, again, is this as well, though? So it couldn't have just been a call between Charles and his son. It had to be, oh, well, Meghan, though. Without Meghan, he would never have taken the call. Without Meghan is the hero in all this. It can't literally have just been Charles called Harry and then Harry went to Balmoral. No. Meghan was the gatekeeper. Meghan was the hero. Meghan made sure that the call was answered. And, some cynical people, of course, which we are not, some cynical people might say that that had been laid on a little thicker in order to give Meghan a role within the communication, and that that didn't happen at all. If you're cynical, that would be what you might say.
Or to
We're not cynical.
justify the anger that Harry felt over Meghan not being invited to Balmoral, actually being told she was not welcome at Balmoral. To say, well, look, Meghan's the reason that Harry answered the phone. Meghan's the only reason that we know that the Queen is in dire
Well,
straits.
to be honest, there was only so much room for a Netflix film crew in the Queen's bedroom. You know, but I mean, that is a real sign, though, of a lack of trust, but also a lack of respect, because Kate said, actually, I'm stepping back. I'm not going to bother doing this. This is I'll stay
I
with the
want to
children.
be with my babies during this
Yeah.
historical traumatic event. Yeah.
Whereas Meghan is obviously like, well, my children are in LA. Let's leave them out there for a little bit longer. Get me to Balmoral. So, and obviously all of that drama. And let's not forget as well that William did about eventually, if I remember rightly, it was reported that William said, look, fire up the engines. Let's take off. We're not waiting for Harry while he messes about and decides whether his wife is coming or not.
Hey, over the pond, can you clarify your comment? He posted and think Paps did. Are you saying that Omid was seen with Meghan Markle when he was in LA in June, when Harry was in London? Let us know what you're hearing. How
Are
dare
you
you
asking me that? I mean, I don't know. I just heard that he was in LA.
Well, no, over the pond over the pond posted something. So I'm asking over the
I'm
pond
sorry.
to
I thought you were
clarify.
asking was in me. I am over the pond. Oh, I've just seen. Yes, that's interesting.
You are over the pond.
I am over the pond. How dare you be so cynical, Cristo, about these two open and honest people? Shame on you. Yeah, they are very open and very, very honest. And only when it was known that Catherine wasn't going was it then okay for Meghan to say that she'd stay back. What a loser, says Dee Dee. Stephanie says, I heard he was in LA. This is Omid, when H was in the UK as well. So,
Hey, P Pacific messaged us, so glad that two-timer Dodie's fiance was finally brought up. It was sketchy then in 97. Can I just say that Dodie is such a weak little, like, I mean, I don't know how far you've seen it, but to me, everything I've read about Dodie was that his money made him arrogant. His father made him arrogant. It was him that was the aggressor on the night that they died. Go faster, lose them, lose them. Well, and Diana's wearing her, I thought I noticed Diana wearing her seatbelt. I'll have to go back and check that, but she wasn't wearing her seatbelt that night. But it was like, Dodie, from what I understand, was really aggressive, and his father's, he was like typical nepo baby, just out. Well, he was like Harry, like just kind of a jerk because of
and also quite keen on, shall we say, some of the powder that makes you march.
Yeah, exactly. And we're not, this guy is very weak and just kind of I mean, just kind of, I don't even know who to compare him to, just absolutely weak, and not even remotely what I would imagine Dodie,
Yeah, they have written him quite weak, but also physically, facially, he's extremely like Dodie. But when it comes to his body, I feel that he's a bit slight. Wasn't Dodie a bit more built, and also wasn't he nearer to Diana's height? Whereas this guy's
Yeah.
shorter than Diana.
This
As
guy's
well.
shorter and he's skinny. Like I would definitely win in a tickle fight with this guy. Like I'm just not impressed.
The tickle fight. You'd have been
Um,
doing that in the back of the Mercedes.
I wanted to mention to you this it's not that big of a story, but I did think it was funny. NT Lawyer posted that Prince Harry was I'm paraphrasing, but a little disappointed because he was led to believe he was going to be nominated for a Grammy Award for his book Spare. And so actually this is the Associated Press that posted this, but perhaps most shocking of all is the omission of Prince Harry, whose memoir Spare sold more than 3.2 million copies worldwide in just 1 week. The British Royal narrated the audiobook, but did not receive a nomination. So that's from the Associated Press. And then I saw that NT Lawyer posted that Harry was under the impression that he was going to be nominated for a Grammy and might be a little disappointed by his lack of acknowledgement. Oh, make sure you read something YouTube appropriate.
Par's staff also issued a public statement saying I was very disappointed, which was untrue. I was crushed. When word first reached me, I was at Windsor Barracks sitting with my guys. I took a moment to collect myself, then told them the bad news. Though we'd just spent months travelling, training together, during which we'd become brothers in arms, they were now on their own. I think that's perhaps the bit about him not being able to go and serve in wherever, Afghanistan or wherever it was, or Iraq.
Complaint number 476,000.
Well, I was just about to say that. How coincidental that I literally just opened it. I mean, it's got all these post-its all over it from where I had to review it. But how coincidental that I just opened it at a random place and, oh, it's another complaint about how terrible my life is. Here we go. Here's another one. It happened at Balmoral. Early morning, fog on the hills, mist in the hollows. My guide, Sandy, was 1,000 years old. He looked as if he had stalked mastodons. Proper old school. That was how Willie and I described him and other such gents. Sandy talked old school, smelled old school, and definitely dressed old school. Faded camo jacket over ragged green sweaters. And basically that's the bit about him shooting a deer for the first time. And yeah, that was it.
Diana says, poor Diana, she normally would never have gone for someone like Dodie, as you say, Kinsey, Nepo baby. She admired men with brains and compassion, exactly like Hasnat Khan. It's true. I felt like Dodie was just a distraction. I felt like she was just trying to make Hasnat Khan jealous. And he was calling her the night she died, telling her to come home, because he did have a change of heart, which is just crushing. And how, from what I can see, do you leave that out of the story from The Crown? But yeah, I just thought Dodie was such a dud. I was so unimpressed with him. In real life and in the show.
I'm just waiting for my Grammy nomination for that. Do I get anything for reading that?
It was beautiful.
Thank you. I think that yeah, we'll never know. We will never know whether anything would have come to fruition with Dodie, or whether you're right, it was just a little holiday dalliance, or also something that she knew, because Diana knew without a doubt that being with someone like Dodie, even if it was a holiday romance or whatever, would annoy the establishment so much. They would not be able to get their heads around it. They would not be able to understand her being with someone like that, with his association obviously being the son of Mohammed Al Fayed, who the British establishment has always loathed.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely loathed. So I wouldn't also have put it past Diana for literally just doing it for that reason. Probably liked him, but we'll never know. We will never know. I mean, you wrote a wonderful book called Revenge Dress. I wonder if it was Revenge Affair, because maybe it was.
Right. Kat says you're more deserving than Harry will ever be for a Grammy, Cristo. That is high praise coming from Kat. Hi, Jackson in Australia.
I'll take that. I believe that Harry was delayed, says Pacific, or missed the flight because he was waiting and waiting for the Netflix crew to turn up to hook him up with hidden microphones. I mean, I don't think you're completely correct, but I understand and completely admire your cynicism, because, of course, I was on a show a couple of weeks ago and was asked, should Harry go to Prince Charles' 75th birthday? And I said, yes, absolutely he should. I think it would be a lovely gesture once he signed a non-disclosure agreement and has promised to not report on any of the events, and or as long as he's also seated next to Ngozi Fulani.
Well, that's what one of the biggest issues has been out of King Charles's 75th birthday
What,
that
Nosy Falani?
no, that Harry's team immediately leaked to the Telegraph that there was a phone call and the palace, courtiers within the palace, saying that's absolutely insane that you demand privacy only on your terms. You are
Yeah.
violating your own privacy when you tell the Telegraph about a private conversation and a video of Archie and Lily sent to the king. That how is that not a violation of someone's privacy?
And also, I mean, again, you want to talk about violations of privacy. We go back to this. I mean, look at, without going into details, because we definitely will be banned if you consider the really private parts of specifically William's anatomy that he is prepared to talk about in that book, which is completely unnecessary,
Yeah.
completely unnecessary to talk about that. I mean, it's quite unnecessary for him to talk about his own anatomy, but
Yeah.
there's no need for him to talk about Williams. So it is absolutely ridiculous, and they are what they are the king and queen of. Hey, do you remember? Sorry, just while I digress, do you remember when I was joking on my TV show that you come on regularly and you're always on, and it's an absolute pleasure to have you? But do you remember when I was joking that if something terrible happened, it would be King Harry and Queen Meghan, and you literally you couldn't handle it. You almost had an episode. Like, I can't even listen to this. I can't.
Yes, I do remember that. I
Okay.
remember that.
But
That was
anyway, they are the king
that
and
was a
queen of
danger.
narrative. It was. They are the king and queen of narrative. Of taking something and spinning it, and they are as well the king and queen of doing what they claim has been done to them, which is also, taking a story and spinning it for their own benefit. And it's a real shame that they're doing that, and it's a real shame that why couldn't they just be dignified and not tell anyone that they'd had a phone call with King Charles? Why did they have to tell anyone?
Exactly. Well, I will say I did notice first thing that morning, and I screen grabbed it, that the Express reported that no phone call took place. So a part of me wondered if they leaked it because they were mad that the Express was already going with the narrative that no phone call took place after Prince Harry's team did brief the BBC that he intended to call King Charles, and this was an effort to put some of the toothpaste back in the tube after they had irritated the royal family by reporting or by telling the media that they were not invited to King Charles's 75th birthday party and that they were excluded from the guest list, and they were not snubbing him, they were in fact snubbed. So the way that they tried to cancel that out was by telling the BBC, we intend to call King Charles for his birthday. The Express then reports that call never happened. Then the Telegraph has these exclusive details, including that a video was sent with Lily and Archie to the king.
I mean, why do they care? They're constantly telling us about how happy they are since they have found their freedom. So why do they care? Who cares if they say that there wasn't a phone call? If they know that there was a phone call, if they know, then who cares? Why do they care so much that the public know that they've still got this royal connection, while simultaneously saying that they don't need the royal connection and that royal connection has made them desperately unhappy? It doesn't make any sense. Like, just get on with your life. Why do you care that the Express might have reported that the phone call didn't happen? You're happy. You've left. You're
Right.
constantly telling us how happy you are. So why? Why do you care?
Well, I have a theory. I think that this is just my opinion, okay? I have a theory that Harry and Meghan, through a third party, likely contributed to Omid Scobie's new book with the anticipation that it was going to come out in August, or wasn't it supposed to come out much sooner? His book was pushed back, I believe, because of the death of the Queen or something. But I believe that they contributed to it with the expectation that it was going to come out much sooner than it did come out. And then they realized that the public has turned against them. No one likes them. and they really need to get back into the royal family's good graces. Harry, that's his reason. I mean, Harry, it's all he knows how to do is be a royal. Otherwise, he's very limited in his skill set.
Well, he's
And
not the
so,
sharpest tool in the box, let's be honest.
yeah, and so I think that they have probably gotten together and said, let's try to worm our way back in some way, shape, or form. This call with the king was a foot in the door, and that foot in the door, it was slammed on them when all of these revelations from Omid's book started to come out, which they had not anticipated because they expected it to come out early. And I think that they have egg on their faces now, and they're desperately trying to clean it up because they were this close to getting back in with the family.
And let's not forget, as you and I have said many, many times before, that the only way in which they can monetize their victimhood is by keeping that connection, by keeping that royal connection, because without it, their stock falls dramatically. So
Right.
it's really important for their brand that they keep the connection, whilst simultaneously saying that connection is the worst thing that has ever happened to them and has made them desperately unhappy. So they are in this strange, contradictory position of needing the royals, while simultaneously saying that they hate everything about being with them and not wanting to be with this terribly racist family, which of course
Yeah.
is the original big accusation. So it's all very, very sad. Now, by the way, can I mention something about Majesty, about us?
Yeah. Yes.
Now, of course, we're doing royals, and we do talk about Harry and Meghan a lot, but we thought, didn't we, that we would expand it, and it'll be interesting to know what people think who are chatting away at the moment, to a bit of showbiz royalty as well now and then, because it's
I
not.
think yes, but I think we should do it normally. But right now we have a room full of people that want to talk Harry and Meghan in the royal
Oh
family.
no,
So I feel like
I agree. I totally agree.
okay, good.
We're not
Okay, good.
gonna do it today, but I think that it would be great to perhaps get because people clearly quite like our analysis and our quite brutal analysis. But maybe it would be nice down the line with our email to get some suggestions of who we should analyze in showbiz royalty and talk about that in the future as well. I'm
I
future
love that.
planning here, Kinsey. I'm future planning here.
You have much bigger visions than Rishi Sunak, who's going to fill potholes, and that's what I love about you. Sweden, Philippines, people all over the world are watching us right now. That's so awesome, Cristo. Oh, look at, do you see Laura?
Yes,
Celebrity.
celebrity.
Loving
Maybe
that.
that's another brand. Maybe we should do a separate one called Celebrity.
I know, I
The
know.
only
That
thing
is
is,
so good.
the only rules I would have on that, Kinsey, is that we can't talk about NSYNC every week.
Okay, I get it. No, okay, so Over the Pond just made a really great point, Cristo, that I actually saw some of Charles's courtiers make. Um, they say he had a full schedule on his birthday. A call would have had to have been set up in advance for when the king had a few minutes, plus an 8-hour time difference. That's a really, really good point that the king, especially on his birthday, especially with his coronation food project, he's
Yes.
that, like, when was he going to have time to step aside and take a call with not only Harry, but Meghan as well?
Yeah, no, it's true. And obviously, have the capacity to receive the video that was made, which we all know about, of the children singing Happy Birthday as well, which I'm so glad we all know about that. I mean, heaven forbid we wouldn't have been given those details. Thank goodness we know about that. Thank
Yeah.
goodness.
Well, somebody was saying, like, how does a 2-year-old know how to sing Happy Birthday? And then somebody else commented, well, Archie's first words were crocodile. So we are dealing with two baby geniuses. Never forget.
They are
Hashtag never forget.
absolutely genius. They absolutely are geniuses. And have you? You're funny with your slide dig, says Gurgit. Thank you.
You
You're very
are.
kind.
You are.
We can talk about showbiz, but not Will Smith, please.
Did someone say that? Oh, that's hilarious.
Do you know what? Actually, on that subject, can I just say, I, I There are few things that interest me less than him and Jada Pinkett's relationship. I don't care. I'm so sick of hearing about them being together, not being together, had an affair, and they didn't have an affair. They were separated, and they weren't separated. They were separated at the Oscars. No, they weren't separated at the Oscars. They were together at the Oscars, but they were wife, but no, they weren't. I don't care.
I think it's very similar to Harry and Meghan. I think the public is just like, could you stop your oversharing? And you've overshared to the point where there's little to no interest in you anymore. You know, Jada's book did horribly despite all of that crazy press around her book. It did not do well.
And of course, and you're right, there are real similarities because let's not forget as well, everything. We're going to give everything out there. We're going to talk about our affairs, not affairs, being together, not being together, all the stuff that I just went through. But then, when it comes to someone else making a joke at the Oscars, oh no, no, that's not acceptable. How dare you? We have literally stripped off and shown it to everyone. Yet at the Oscars, someone else makes a joke. No, 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 not acceptable. It has to. Everything has to be on their terms. And
I
it's the
can't
same,
believe
same as
how
Harry and
many
Meghan.
people. Exactly. I can't believe how many people are saying in the comment section that they do not believe a phone call took place on King Charles's birthday.
Well,
I'm
and it's not alone. I mean, I put a link. We do a little document, don't we? Which is very. I just want people to know that we do plan this. And there was a Twitter account saying, again, that you're quite right. That Victoria Ward, who I think is a royal commentator,
I
said
think
that
she's a
Prince Harry,
reporter.
the reporter said Prince Harry enjoyed a warm conversation with the king,
Hey,
and
don't
that was
forget, Victoria Ward was the one giving us a play-by-play of Meghan Markle's outfits at Invictus. Remember how that was driving me crazy that we were getting wardrobe updates from Invictus? That she was
because
I believe that's the same reporter.
yes, because let's be honest, that's really what Invictus is about. I mean, you know, screw anyone's limbs. Let's talk about what Meghan's wearing. I mean, that's just it's such it reminds me of that story in the Tom Bower book where she went to Rwanda, I think, with World Vision and took 13 outfits and did a full photo shoot while in Rwanda, like next to the wells. And it's just hilarious. Like, of course, in Invictus, we must know what Meghan is wearing. You know, that really is the spirit of the Invictus Games. So glad.
Right.
So glad
Right.
we got to know that information.
So we do have somebody defending Paul Burrell in the comments, and I probably should have defended him too because I don't mind him. I like him quite a bit, but they said Paul Burrell was around then. It's obvious they talked more than just employee employer. So he's going see events through. He's going to see events through different eyes. He'll know about actual conversations. But just to Cristo's point, Paul's saying he hasn't seen it, so it's hard to take criticism and commentary from somebody that did live through those events, but actually hasn't seen the product that they're critiquing.
Well, I don't know he hasn't, but I got the impression he hadn't that when he was talking
Oh,
about
okay.
it. Because I think his whole thing was, I can't watch it. So
Hmm.
presumably he hasn't. But also, um, I tell you why I find him mildly irritating. You know, I'm not that bothered about him, but I find him
Can I
mildly
wait?
irritating.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I just want to remind everybody who doesn't know, I'm actually the one that informed Cristo that Paul was on his team. Cristo didn't even know that
I'd forgotten.
Paul was on his team.
Forgotten. I forgot. Well, he was married for a long time, and you know, I didn't know whether he was Arthur or Martha that week. I'd no idea. So you're right. I hadn't, I hadn't forgotten that detail. But no, I think he's one of the ones that is. He is a little bit. The reason he vexes me a tiny bit is because he is a little bit. Oh look, can we not just let Diana rest in peace? Unless, of course, I'm invited on television to talk about her, in which case I will extensively, and I'll talk about how we should let her rest in peace. And it is a little bit like, well, you could just turn down the TV appearance, and then that would help solve the problem. So that's
I
why I'm a
remember
little bit vexed.
the first time I met him, because I love his book about Diana. Well, I want which one? Closely guarded. I don't know. Maybe it's Closely Guarded Secret. I don't remember. he has multiple books about Diana, but one of them I've listened to over and over. I listened to it in the bathtub. I listened to it at the gym. Like, there were so, stop with that face. There were just so many great details, and you really got to know who she was. So when I met him one day, actually in your building, I was like, oh my gosh, I've memorized your book word for word. And he goes, well, that's weird. I was like, no,
I
I
actually
mean
quite,
it
I
in a
actually quite
nice
like
way.
that. Do you know what that is? Well, do you know what's been demonstrated there? Is that what you've just demonstrated there actually is what happened to Meghan Markle, because you are American,
Mm,
Meghan is American,
yeah.
and British people, there was this whole thing that Meghan wasn't welcomed and it was all awful and everything. I don't think there was a massive conspiracy against Meghan. I just think that, I say this with love to my American friends. I love America and I love the positivity and I love the can-do attitude. I love you can be anything you want. But us Brits are a little bit overwhelmed when we get that at first. So I actually think that's hilarious, and it's a real demonstration of, Meghan, remember when she joined the royal family, she's like, I'm going to bring you muffins. Oh my
Yeah.
God, let's have a group thing. And all the British people in the establishment are a bit like, all right, thanks.
Yeah.
Because we're not like that so much. And
Yeah.
so I think you just demonstrated that with Paul Burrell, because that's hilarious that you're like, oh my God, I listened to the bath. And his response is, well, that's a bit weird. That's very
Well,
British.
I know what you're saying. Because I said to like I said to Afia yesterday from Talk TV, she messaged me that it was good to work with me, and I was like, love you. And she just was like there, and it was like silence, and I was like, that is so American of me. But that is
So
just,
I love you.
I'm like, I love you. Oh my gosh, you're great. You're awesome. Can I hug you? There's a
Yeah,
lot
yeah,
of
and
enthusiasm
that
that comes out of
is,
my body.
and I think that's very much what happened to Meghan. I think that she probably took really personally that cultural difference. There's also that slight frostiness from British people and that sort of ribbing that means we love you. I think British people are very much as well that the way we'll say that we love you is to take the mickey out of you a little bit, but
Yeah.
also don't meet us for the first time and tell us that you love us and throw your arms around us, because we're a bit like, "Oh, are you actually mental?" So,
Yeah.
and I think that's what she suffered from. And again, in Harry's book, he talks a lot about how, my God, she took muffins to them, and she went and knocked on the door of one of the neighbours and said hello, and they were really rude to her. And it's like, well, of course, you're some strange American person they've never met before. Of course.
Yeah, so Transplanted One says, Cristo, you are absolutely spot on. I am European and get that every time I go back to see my family.
Yeah, because it's true. And like, I think that that's actually one of the best things about America, actually, is the transparency and how positive Americans are. I think we could do with a little bit of that over here, but I think it does lead to that slight cultural
Well,
clash.
that's right. Carol Lee says Meghan was love bombing. That's not being American. I will say, when I say this stuff, I sincerely mean it. I do think that it, I'm not trying to be ugly, but in Meghan's specific case, there was an ulterior motive. She was trying to climb the ladder. And maybe some people got that vibe from her, that she wasn't being authentic and it wasn't sincere.
I think that that's probably a fair point, because if you throw in that cynical side of British people, especially in the establishment, um, that that they are naturally suspicious of someone that tries too hard. And if they feel like you're trying too hard because you've got an ulterior motive, and it's brutal. But in the English upper classes, that take what I'm saying and times it by 10, and that's just their way. Now, if you compare that to someone like Catherine or someone
Mm,
like Sophie, they play the long game, and they
mhm.
are, that they keep themselves to themselves, and we don't really hear much from them, and they get their head down, and eventually, when they are accepted, then they start to flourish a little bit, but it's not too much too soon. And I think that the essence of how you work in the royal family. You sort of, you got to keep your wings clipped for the first couple of years.
Well,
Then,
and that's the queen. The queen is just, she was just, there was just a sense of comfort about her and stability. And it wasn't, like if the queen walked out and threw her arms around Joe Biden or Donald Trump, it would be too much. So no, you're right.
absolutely, and so that was. But I think that Meghan was in Harry's ear then constantly, that like, oh, these people all hate me, they've got it in for me, they're racist, they don't like me, they don't like you, Harry, and they're showing that they don't like you by the way they are with me, and all of this drip 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 drip, when in actual fact it was probably um a big cultural difference, that's all.
All right. So Asif says, isn't it funny how Omid is trying to say he's not Meghan's pal and Harry has gone into hiding and Meghan has that awkward power of woman moment again with the staff helping her get in the way. I don't know if you saw this, Cristo, but somebody like is trying to move Meghan along the step and repeat. And Meghan just completely ignores her and keeps like voguing. She's like, and then the lady goes, that's fine. Okay, that's fine.
Well, she's a pro. She is a pro, and yeah.
It had been a while since she stepped out. She wanted to make sure she got her moment and she had all angles covered. What do you think about her comments that she made on the red carpet, that they've got some exciting projects coming up? Her husband is excited about the projects coming up, really kind of in movie producer mode, that
Oh,
they
yeah. Do you know what that means? They're unemployed. That's
Well,
always what you say when you're unemployed. I'm surprised you didn't say we're just resting at the moment. Like,
I
that's
am
when
surprised.
you've
Like,
got excited.
why not use that moment to really announce something significant? Like, what, or say specifically, like, meet me at the lake is going to be phenomenal. Like, why be so vague? Why show up at all unless you are going to put something in the papers that is of significant value?
Because they don't give anything of value unless there's money in it for them.
Well, I mean,
They
they've got
would.
to, they Meet Me at the Lake has got to achieve some element of success, or Netflix is going to be done with them.
Well, I just add it to the list of places that they can't be employed by. I mean, soon they'll be serving in McDonald's and talking about that as their exciting project coming up, because that's about
Oh
the
my
only place left that would employ them.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
it's true though. I agree, but I I don't know why she didn't say, "Oh, make sure that you watch, Meet Me at the Lake." What, I don't know why she didn't do that. You're quite right. Maybe deep down she doesn't think it's any good as well. That's
Well,
the
they're
other thing.
probably in the early stages because we know that the writer's strike and the actor's strike only ended within the last month. So they're probably only in the early stages, but she certainly could have said, we're so excited to bring Meet Me at the Lake to life. Stay tuned for, watch this space. Like Kim Kardashian would have done that. Like, I can't stress it enough. Meghan needs to spend like a good solid 6 months watching Kim Kardashian work. And,
Or as well, just being advised. I don't think that they are advised very well. I don't think. I've said this before when I was suggesting some of the products that they could create. I still think Archie wipes is a go. By the way, those makeup wipes, Archie wipes, brilliant thing, or Harry's hair product. But I think that they don't get great advice because good people around them would have said, right, this is what you're going to be asked on the red carpet. What's coming up? What are you doing? And this is where you can say, meet me by the lake, but we haven't started it yet because of the writer's strike, and I'm so behind the writers, and make yourself look good.
Well, I
That's
mean,
what a good
she is
advisor.
probably a SAG actor still. She's probably still a part of the SAG union, and she didn't speak out about it at all. So, of course, she certainly could have been like, "We're so grateful to see an end to the SAG strike." I just want to make sure
I mean,
Dee
right,
Dee made
I do look at Meghan and think SAG.
Dee Dee. I don't. She's lost a lot of weight lately. She looks good. I'm not being critical.
Yes, I'm not
Dee
looking
Dee.
for
Dee
critical.
Dee says because they have to be secretive and vague about everything unless it's someone else's privacy. Good point, Dee Dee. Kat says if William Morris Endeavor hasn't found anything for her in 7 months, dot, dot, dot. So that's an interesting point, too, that I hadn't even thought about. She's been with William Morris Endeavor now since April, and not any real movement. However, William Morris Endeavor could place them with a great set of writers for the Meet Me at the Lake script. William Morris Endeavor could also provide A-list talent for Meet Me at the Lake if they decide to do so. So maybe that's where Meet Me at the Lake fits in with Meghan over the last few months. But otherwise, the Dior thing never came to fruition. Does she really have I do not believe that she really has a book coming out. You know, what else is going on? What is William Morris Endeavor doing for her other than making sure to refer to her as the Duchess of Sussex? But don't forget, really quickly, she has been seen in LA at this hotel that she works out of. So she is doing something.
I wonder what it is that she's actually doing. I mean, look, maybe there is a project in the pipeline. Maybe she didn't want to talk about it. I mean, it is, like I said, the things that people just say when they are unemployed. But maybe that's, as Ziggy says, maybe there's something in the works. Everything isn't reported. Ziggy also says Dior was never on the table. Others said that. Yeah, but the thing is, and we pointed this out on my show when you came on, was that I think that they've snookered themselves a little bit, Harry and Meghan, when it comes to brands and associating themselves with brands, because they see themselves as double, triple A list, and double, triple A list will only work with Dior, Vogue, those really, really high end, real, Cartier, all of those sorts of brands. That's how they see themselves positioned when it comes to brands. And of course, none of those brands are going to annoy the royal family. So I think that by positioning themselves as what they want to be, which is brand ambassadors, they are going to have to lower their sights a little bit on the kinds of brands that they are prepared to work with and get paid by, because the big brands that are the real prestige ones, Bentley, all of those things, none of those are going to want to annoy the royal family, because the royal family is above triple A list. There's nothing more than the royal family when it comes to the hierarchy.
No, you're absolutely right. Those brands, those, like Audi or Lexus, or, those luxury Range Rover, I mean, they want to remain close to the British royal family, so they're not going to risk that relationship by associating with Harry and Meghan.
Well,
We got
you
asked.
made a brilliant point about this when you said, well, look, Dior did mention that they had dressed Harry, but it was for the king's coronation. So there was
Yeah,
that royal connection when they were prepared to associate with Harry. But I don't believe Dior would put out a statement going, oh, we've dressed Harry for this premiere. There's just no way that would happen. But they might put out a statement to say we were happy to dress Catherine because she's royalty. Do you see what I mean? I think they have scuppered themselves a little bit.
All right, DizFan9212 asked us a question. They say, do you guys think that both Meghan and Harry have boosted King Charles III's public image / popularity a little bit to where he's not getting a bad rap as he did back in the 90s and early 2000s? I'd say 110%. I think people feel sympathy for him over Harry and Meghan.
Yeah, I think that they do. I think they've also accepted his relationship with Queen Camilla. I think that's a massive part of it. And I think that although perhaps behind closed doors he hadn't got his head around it, the turning point for Charles was the death of Diana. I mean, that was, from a PR point of view, as tragic as it was, kind of the best thing that could have happened to him, because it meant that, and I don't mean that in a callous way that he wanted it to happen or anything like that. I really don't. But the public then went, oh my word, he's this father now with these two boys, and actually we're going to cut him some slack, and
No.
let's, the worst possible thing could have happened. So let's now draw a line under all of that, because this poor woman has died and he's now left with these poor boys, stuck with raising them on his own. So I think that that's why. Tricky says exactly right about the brands, Cristo. Also, any UK company would not want to be associated with H&M, as it would have to be a US organization. Oh, there is H&M.
There is.
Do you know what H&M is? Do you have H&M in it's like a really discount clothing store. It's called H&M.
You can get a nice white t-shirt for $5.
Yeah. You know, and it's beautifully stitched because of all the children that have sewn it together.
We did have someone, and I'm sorry, their name was Mo something, but I've lost you in the comments. Just in case you're joining us a little bit later, we were talking about whether or not Omid Scobie's new book, Endgame, has some familiar sources. And by familiar sources, I mean, could Harry and Meghan be utilizing a third party to give Omid scoop? And a couple of you have said that Omid Scobie, well, first of all, Cristo said that he believed that Omid had been in LA recently. And a couple of you, Mo just recently said that while Harry was recently in the UK, Omid was posting photos from Los Angeles, California. So that's interesting that you guys are seeing that on social media.
All just coincidence, I'm sure. Just a
Perhaps.
big coincidence. Just a big coincidence. Luxury brands, says Roz, don't want to be associated with the toxic duo and their terrible behavior and values. It's not just wanting to lose the actual royals. That's interesting. The real Gigi says, I think that Camilla has got a horrible rap since forever. She's a really lovely woman, loyal and very kind. I love her. Yes and no. I've forgiven Camilla. I've drawn a line under it, and I'm really happy that she makes King Charles happy. But I didn't like her for a long time, and I think some of the criticism was justified, bearing in mind she kind of made friends with Diana whilst still, you know, wanting to have it away with Charles. And I think that was a big source of Diana's unhappiness.
And one of my greatest regrets in this like royal reporting journey of mine is I did find a story about Camilla leaking stories, specifically, allegedly, to a reporter, first and last name. I wish I would have written it down. I wish I would have written down exactly where I heard it because, and I do love Camilla now too, but there worst, you know, when people say Diana planted stories, it was not just Diana. It was not just Diana. I have heard that Camilla did the exact same thing, had a contact that used to speak openly about it, and all of a sudden he changed his tune. And I wish to God I could remember his first and last name.
Well, and that would make sense as well, that she probably did leak stories when there was this strange love triangle of love and hate between the three of them. But as soon as Camilla becomes elevated to firstly Charles's girlfriend, then his wife, then future queen, and then queen, and not even queen consort now, it is Queen Camilla. Of course, you've got to shut up about that, then, aren't you? Because you're not gonna kill the golden goose.
James Holt. Okay, James Holt. So Kiernan just said they felt like James Holt might be one of the sources. That is a name that I forgot. It was driving me crazy that I couldn't remember his name. That's, I think, a wildly intelligent guess.
Yeah.
Kiernan. Um, and does anyone know the name of the bodyguard that came over with Harry? So they suspect perhaps the bodyguard as well. Tracy says, hey, there is a turnover at 2025 Invictus. I've seen this headline. Have you heard anything? The top two people running the event are gone, and there's word that they need more funds. Now, this
Yes,
is
I read something on Twitter about this.
yeah.
That
Why don't
is
you
in
pull
trouble.
that up while I explain some? So I remember vaguely talking to Robert Jobson about this. Robert Jobson was saying that Harry and Meghan were going to have a hard time continuing to fund Invictus. And then I saw, and that was months ago, maybe even a year ago. So interesting that he was on top of that so much earlier. I don't know the details of this. Krista's pulling it up right now, but I mean, it's the first time I think we've seen publicly Invictus have so much turnover. Archwell Productions, Archwell Charity, it's like a freaking revolving door, if we're being honest. I think it says a lot about the leadership that they're dealing with, but actually quite upsetting when you think about Invictus, when Invictus does create such a positive impact for
Yeah,
wounded warriors.
I can't find it. Someone wrote it on Twitter
Oh, I thought it was Daily Mail. Just put it in
Oh no,
Google.
I don't think it's been reported. It was on Twitter, and
I saw it as a headline.
did you?
Yeah.
I've done a search for Invictus Games funding. Invictus Games funding.
Harry's Invictus Games is thrown into chaos as two top chiefs are sacked. As
Oh,
insiders warn
I
staff
should
more.
use the word chaos, shouldn't I, rather than funding? You're right. There it is. Next Invictus Games in Canada, held in Vancouver and Whistler, that Peter Lawless, a lawyer and Canada's most respected Olympic and Paralympic administrator, has left the job abruptly. Apparently, he was fired. Morale amongst staff is now at an all-time low. An Invictus Games spokesman declined to comment on whether he was sacked, saying he had been transitioned out. So funny.
That's a nice way of saying they got the boot.
Yeah, transitioned out and was no longer an employee. And also Bill Cooper, who was chief commercial officer for all of 10 months, left in October. He thanked colleagues for their support, and several praised his grace and accused Invictus of making a big mistake by getting rid of him. And apparently some people are worried that's going to overshadow the event. But apparently, according to one Games volunteer, said staff are concerned, as I said, that they'll overshadow the event for veterans, but they also raised concerns that the Sussex's security and other costs might put a strain on Games finances if Invictus 2025 has to pick up the bill for their appearances. So therefore, the 2025 Games apparently facing financial concerns, but that has been denied by an Invictus spokesman, despite the governments of Canada and British Columbia pledging to spend £20 million to stage the Games. So just over a year to go, but they're worried that that won't be enough money to stage the Games.
And security, that's interesting to me that it would be security that's the big financial concern.
Yeah, which, you know, if
Always.
Invictus is paying for their security, that's going to be a big bill. That's going to be a very
Right.
big bill. But I've
Right.
always said, in fairness, and I have always said it, love or loathe Harry and Meghan, the one thing I will defend them on is that I do believe they should have kept their security from the British government.
Yeah,
I
you
do.
have always said that.
I've always said that. I think it was wrong because he will always be the son of the sovereign. He will always have been the grandson of the Queen. He served in, I think it was Afghanistan he served in, it was Iraq he didn't get a chance to. He is a target for terrorists, whether he is in the royal family or not. I think Prince Andrew should get security. I'm sorry, but these are people who are targets for terrorists. And I think that to have cut off their funding for security, I think, was a bit mean-spirited and actually quite short-sighted, and I think it was wrong.
All right, so you and I haven't caught up since that Byline Times article, which alleges that Charles, they were going to, after the Sandringham Summit, they'd agreed to a temporary, like 1 year in Canada that the royal family would pay for, a test year, but the king revoked that funding for that 1 year in Canada and security. So because Harry and Meghan refused to take the name of a courtier's partner off of legal documents exposing them in regards to some leaks from the palace that Harry and Meghan were accusing them of. So does that upset you if that's true, that they revoked security funding for Harry and Meghan to go to Canada for a year as punishment for not doing as they requested?
I think that Harry and Meghan are wrong, and I think that they're stupid, and I think that they probably called the royals bluff, but I think that they still deserve that funding. I mean, lots of people are saying, you know, didn't they cut off security for Diana, says KK.
No, No,
Well,
Diana rejected the security because Martin Bashir approached her and told
yes,
her that that they were spying on her. And so Diana cut off her royal protection because she was fearful that they were leaking information about her to the royal family and
but
and
and
newspapers,
look
tabloids.
at how that turned out. And so,
Mhm.
Kat says, no, Cristo, it clearly states about royals, if they are non-working royals and are earning commercially, they don't get security paid. Well, I think that they deserve some security, even if they are earning commercially. They are a part of the British royal family, which is a part of the British state, which means that they are subject to a huge amount of huge number of threats, and British security, secret services and the like, should be privy to the information that would keep them safe. And I say that about any direct member of the royal family, because could you imagine if, I don't know, when ISIS, Al Qaeda, when they were more of a thing, if they had managed to get, I mean, what a win that would be for them if they got one of those members of the royal family. And every one of us would be sitting here now saying, "Ye gods, why were they not under the care of the British Secret Service?" I take the point, and perhaps there's an argument about the level of security that they should have. And I'm the first to criticise them. But
Right.
Harry is the brother of the future king. He is the son of the current king. That means, as far as I'm concerned, he deserves a level of security from the British taxpayer.
That's the thing though is, and I'm probably going off on a tangent here. Make sure we acknowledge Claudia, who wants to ask you about tax funded security. But I'm probably going off on a tangent here. But Harry is the son of the king. He's the
Yeah.
brother of the future king. And so he uses that position when it's convenient to him. But they had the audacity, that's a huge deal, right? The royal family is a huge deal. I mean, internationally. But Harry and Meghan wanted the palace to not announce the queen was dead until Harry was settled. And I'm like, it's more than a family. It's more than your grandmother. This is a huge moment in history. We cannot hold off telling the world that the queen is gone
So
because
are you
Harry's
talking
not.
about when he? Sorry to interrupt, but you talk about, so they wanted to hold off until he landed, until he was at Balmoral himself.
Yes, and
But
this
it's
is
2
from
hours
Omid
away.
Scobit's. This is Omid's in Omid's new book, and I'm like, I don't feel like Harry acknowledges how important and relevant his family is unless it benefits him. Because yeah, no, everybody just needs to hold off. Everybody needs to keep this giant secret that, by the way, they tried to hold it off, and our friend Lady Colin Campbell broke it on YouTube while they were trying to hold it off for Harry. And then finally they were like, we can't do this anymore. We're going to go ahead and announce it. But like, to think
There's
that
also,
you
but
are
there is also, it's not just about, like, we're going to just announce it. There are
protocol.
logistical,
Yeah.
yeah, there are logistical things to be done. I was outside Buckingham Palace when the Queen's death was announced. I was reporting there all afternoon, and um, it was starting to become clear that that she was not there. Sometimes it's the same with Diana. Sometimes no announcement becomes an announcement. No news
Yeah.
becomes news in itself. And so, how much longer could they have held off? Bearing in mind that I think that she actually died about 2:30, 3 o'clock, and it wasn't until 6 o'clock, if I remember rightly, it might have even been 6:30, that it was actually announced. That is still a massive, massive gap. And bearing in mind that there were also whispers. I mean, someone messaged me at 2:30, 3 o'clock, and said, "This is bad. This is the end. She has already died."
Mhm.
And obviously, you don't say that on air, but so it was out there. So I mean, to me, that would mean that what you want your grandmother, the sovereign's death, leaked rather than officially announced. There comes a point where you have to say, sorry, don't care who's here or not, we've got to announce, because otherwise
Right.
it's going to be leaked, or it's going to go on Twitter, or it's going to go somewhere else, and then it's going to do her life and death a massive disservice.
Right.
So
They needed to release it on their terms because protocol was in place and everything needed to unfold in a very specific way so that it wasn't chaotic and people weren't, um, and people weren't running to YouTube to see what was going on and Twitter, which is a little bit what happened. But
yeah,
I just think it's interesting how he acknowledges how powerful and relevant his family is when it benefits him, but he'd be under the impression that it's unfair for the family to announce the death of his grandmother because his plane didn't land because he might have missed a like because he doesn't answer unknown phone calls unless Meghan gives him permission to.
and also was messing about, but worrying about whether Meghan was going to get on the plane with him or not. Let's
Yeah.
not forget that as well. So they were probably a bit weary as well of thinking, well, I mean, if it was me, I'd probably think, well, the reason you're late is because you've been messing about with whether you were going to come with your wife or not. And
Mhm.
so, um, respectfully, there are bigger things than you at play here.
Right.
And you've also got the idea, there would have been logistical things talked about that would have been thought about, i.e., although the rolling news was in play here at that point when she died, here in the UK, the BBC has its 6 o'clock news bulletin. That is, the BBC has 6 o'clock and 10 o'clock news. So they would have been very mindful that let's get this on for the people turning on the television at 6 o'clock for the news, number one. Number two, when's the cutoff point for newspapers? If we leave it another hour or two, does that affect the newspaper coverage for when their cutoff point to go to print is? Because the newspapers are the next day's newspapers are on the desk by 10:30, 11 o'clock. So there are those logistical concerns which probably would have meant as well that 6 o'clock was a practical cutoff for those sorts of things too. That then affects the evening programming because what are we going to do? Put a sitcom on BBC Two whilst
Yeah.
the Queen is laid up.
No.
The evening programming schedules need to be sorted out. So not to the family, but to the machine. All of that would have been considerations that they would have had in play, and that's probably why they said, right, 6 o'clock. That's the time that we
Yeah.
announce.
And Jet, I made this a point on Talk TV too. Don't forget that Katie Nichol reported that the Queen reached out to Harry and Meghan and asked them to spend some time with her while she knew they were going to be in the UK for some personal events. So Meghan could accept another trophy. And they declined. They rejected that offer. So it's hard to swallow Omid and Harry telling us again and again how close he was to the Queen. Your actions say otherwise. It was super
Why didn't you go
cruel
and
of
see
you.
her before she died? Why didn't you go and see
Yeah.
her before she died?
Why
You
were you
know,
talking to Oprah Winfrey while Prince Philip was dying? Like
yeah.
what your actions speak otherwise.
And let's not forget, it brings us all back full circle. It was also reported this week that King Charles has found it very difficult to forgive Harry and Meghan for the turmoil that they put the Queen through. Do you remember one of the stories, which is one of the most repellent stories that came from them, especially when you
I know
consider.
exactly what you're going to say. Continue.
Oh, I don't know. Is it okay? Tell me whether this was what you thought I was going to say. But it is the fact that we when it so obviously it was known by, I think, some people in the media, not everyone, but it was clear from photos and stuff that the Queen was ill. And as it turns out, we now know that she probably had bone cancer, which is
Mm,
incredibly painful. Um, but it was announced, remember, that Harry had a book deal, and it was for one or two books, three books maybe, the second of which will be published after the Queen's death.
yeah.
Was that what I was going to say? Did you know that was what I was going to say? So
No,
imagine
that's
being.
not. No, that's not.
Oh,
I'm not that psychic, apparently. I thought you were going to say one of the most horrible stories was that Harry and Meghan blamed Prince Philip and the Queen's death for their poor professional struggles in 2023 when they said that the Meghan's podcast didn't do well because the Queen died, when they said that the Oprah Winfrey
I
interview
forgot
received
about that.
negative feedback because Prince Philip was sick. Mind
Yeah,
blown at how
I'd I'd
Ridiculous that
forgotten about
is.
that. That's awful. It's very inconvenient that the Queen died when she did. She should have held on a bit longer so their podcast did better. But no, but what would have been going through the Queen's head? The Queen, who is all about continuity. One of the things about the Crown that's so interesting, and all this stuff fascinates me more actually than Harry and Meghan, is that when you consider the Queen is the Crown is all about continuity. It's all about the continuation. It's all about the steady hand and the calming of the nation, right? And if you consider that that is the only thing that actually the Queen would have cared about when it came to the passing of the baton to King Charles, and this is demonstrated by, and forgive me if I'm going on a bit, but this is demonstrated by when the Queen died, the statement, which was fascinating to me and so demonstrative of what this is all about, is the Queen died peacefully today at Balmoral. The King will and Queen Consort will return to London tomorrow. Now, we didn't really need to know that King Charles was returning to London tomorrow. But what that was the Queen has died, you now have a king. In the same statement, two sentences, second sentence is the Queen has died, you now have a king. Now, I cannot think of any other institution or any other scenario where someone dies where you say, I don't know, think of an A-list celebrity, Elvis Presley has died, but don't worry, tickets are available for Cliff Richard. Do you know what I mean? You just wouldn't do that because it's not appropriate. Whereas
Yeah.
in the continuation of the Crown, that is precisely what happens, because it's about the Queen has gone, but you have a king now. The king will return to London tomorrow. So if I could just go back to the point about with that mindset of that continuation and then of that Crown continuing, what would that have done to the Queen to have thought, oh, there's a book coming after I die, and what the hell is going to be in it? That I do not believe for a second that wouldn't have given her some turmoil, because in the context of the continuation of the Crown and the securing of the future of the monarchy, that would have been, especially in her final months, paramount in her mind. Yet this little word I won't use decided, actually, no, I'm going to put out a statement saying that there's going to be a book after you die. That is repellent. It is
No,
repellent.
it is. But
Sorry if
hey,
I went on a bit there.
just we haven't seen it though. So I
No,
do want I wonder did the reaction, did the bad reaction, or did everybody just buy their double copies when he sat down with that therapist and they've got too many copies now?
yeah,
Uh I don't know if there will be a continued. I'm sure that the publisher would love to have another book, but I don't know if the public wants another book. What's left to say? You are still having pity parties on a pretty consistent basis. Like we're kind of over it. When are you going to grow up?
what are they going to put in it? But just that threat that what I've got to say can only be heard once the Queen has died. Well, that would make her think, well, are they going to slag me off? Are they going
Don't
to go after
forget,
me?
Don't forget, he told the Telegraph that there was a lot of information that did not make the book, which makes me wonder, is that going to end up in Endgame so that he is technically not the bad guy because he can say, I didn't have anything to do with it? So will all of that information that he told the Telegraph he did not include in Spare because he didn't want to hurt his father and brother
Yeah.
any further, will that end up in Endgame? I mean, it's a serious concern.
Yeah, I get it, and I just find that just so unforgivable to have put that veiled threat, that sword of Damocles, hanging over the institution in the final months of the woman who had been at the head of it for 70 years, whose only concern is the continuation. And so I think that was just
And
vile.
Harry, that's why people did not want you on the plane with them to
Yeah,
Balmoral. Sorry, not
absolutely.
sorry.
Yeah,
Between
absolutely.
Netflix, between Spare, and between stories like that, hey, Spare Part 2 was coming the second that the Queen was laid, in the ground. That is why no one wanted to experience that trip with Harry. He is he has proven himself, in my opinion, to be destructive and untrustworthy. And why would you want to be in a small space with him? Especially now, we've seen Spare. He talks about a private conversation that happened right after Prince Philip's funeral,
Yeah.
between him, his father, and his brother. Why would you want?
Don't forget the additional chapter where he goes in and talks about seeing the Queen's laying in her bed after she'd passed away. So, okay, we didn't know that at that point when they refused to have him on the plane, but it was all of that, those sort of dangling of threats, which I just think is just horrible, really. And so I can see why, going back to the story that we were discussing about it, that's difficult for King Charles, I think, to get over, because he understands, my God, because his life has not been easy because of it. He understands the importance of succession more than anyone, which is this heavy weight on you, and he understands that weight more than anyone, and he would understand what it would have put his mother through, knowing that that was in jeopardy, potentially, or being put in jeopardy.
Well, according to reports, it's William that is the least likely to forgive Harry, which I
Yeah.
believe. Charles,
William is furious, without a doubt.
Charles is, always going to be his dad, and I do believe that this is a man that's at least evolved into having a very soft heart, especially when it comes to his children and grandchildren. But I do understand the royal family's hesitation to engage with them. Somebody just mentioned it, and I'm so sorry, your name's already passed, but Meghan threatening, basically, in the Cut interview. Meghan saying that she found a diary at Frogmore and she never had to sign a non-disclosure agreement. Those are some very intense statements.
They're veiled threats. They're veiled threats, and of course the Queen hadn't died at the time of the Cut interview. So this would have all been when the Queen was suffering from an aggressive and painful form of cancer. They were clearly, if you look at the way in which you treat that kind of cancer is steroids to kind of keep you going and to try and relieve the pain. And she kept going. I mean, she kept working until 3 days before her death because she knew how important it was that she kept going, whilst being aware of all of that going on. And I actually would go so far as to say I think that is probably why, as well as the digs against his wife, why William is furious. And I think William is great because, let's be honest, King Charles has not been the best father at times. Let's be honest that William, being older, was probably more affected by all of the turmoil between King Charles and Diana, his mother. But knowing that his duty is to be the future king, he has seemingly drawn a line under it and gone, there are bigger things than my angst over all of that. I've got to get on with my dad. I've got to get on with my stepmother, because I'm going to be the king, and this is the important stuff. And I think that is an incredible level of maturity. And he could have wavered. He could have been, like any
And
of the other.
How does Harry see that as a betrayal? How does Harry see that as a betrayal? Because you're absolutely right. It's maturity. It's understanding that that something's bigger than you are. And how does Harry see that as betrayal? Because obviously Harry does, because that's why Harry's acting the way that he does. And I can't comprehend why Harry can't. But like, go ahead.
Go on.
Well, I was just going to say, you describing this vision that William has for his future. Harry doesn't have that, because, like NT Lawyer had recently said on my podcast, Harry is rudderless. He just he's paddling and paddling and paddling and doesn't know where he's going. But William has that vision.
And what a shame. And I've said this to you before, but what a shame, because Harry could have been William's ultimate wingman,
Which Diana wanted.
Yeah, and being his support. He could have really done so much when it came to veterans charities. The William, I know I've said this before, so I'm sorry if I'm being repetitive, but William, being the commander in chief of the British Armed Forces, Harry almost being the commander of the veterans. Once you've served, Harry, I'm going to raise money. I'm going to make sure that there is never a homeless veteran again. I am going to be the wingman and the support for William, and you know what, because this is bigger than my gripes. And I think that with William appreciating that would have given Harry his role, that would have given it to him. And it's a real shame, because
And
look at Princess Anne and look at how brilliant she is, you know, and look at
exactly.
how she was at the opening of Parliament last week with as the King's protector. You know, that role, you know, the Princess Anne, you don't look at her and think you don't have a role, but
Yeah,
she is
exactly.
also the support to the King in a way that, and she could have been Princess Margaret. I love Princess Margaret, but she could have been the spare that was, and she wasn't. She just got her head down, and that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
Listen, we were only going to do 30 minutes, love.
Oh yeah.
We've been
Sorry.
for an hour and a half.
All
But
right.
listen, I'm going to have to say goodbye, my loves.
That's right. 800 people are watching right now. Thanks so much to everybody that's tuned in throughout the last hour and a half. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to
What's our
Majesty.
email for this one? What's our email?
Majesty, spelled like the name on the screen, podcast
We're
at
on the
gmail.com. And we have a regular podcast. Check out our YouTube. Check out this YouTube. I hope you subscribe. Thanks so much to everyone. And
give us some topic suggestions that you want us
yeah,
to talk about, and
yeah,
also who do you think should be elevated to showbiz royalty? We'll do a bit of showbiz as well, but we only want A-list, please. You
yeah.
know, only because I want to show you my Madonna t-shirts again.
Yeah,
Like,
you don't want to
that's
miss out on, or his Dallas collection. He showed me his
my,
Dallas collection
look
recently.
at look, I've got my Ewing license plate. Can you see it up there?
I love it. It's so funny. All right, so thanks everybody for watching. We love you so much. Oh, and Cristo, I'm Kinsey Schofield on Instagram. Cristo is
I'm
Cristo.
Cristo_radio, no H in Cristo, so Cristo underscore radio, and we'll do more lives. We're going to try and do them weekly from now on. We're playing with trying to get the technical stuff right, but probably on a Thursday night we might try and do sort of 45 minutes, an hour on a Thursday night.
I like that. I like that. I
Yeah,
can put my pants on a Thursday. I can't wait.
you
By
don't
the
need to
way,
put your pants on.
I got a space heater that looks like a fireplace. I keep calling it my redneck fireplace. I have to show you. I love it so much. I feel so bougie.
A space heater, that you know, that is, what would you call it here? What did you say it was? Not
It's
bougie, what was the
like
other thing?
it's a space heater. It's an electric fireplace.
Did you buy it at Target? You love a bit
No,
of
I didn't
Target,
buy it
don't
at
you?
Target. No, I didn't buy it at Target.
Well, you love a bit of Target.
I bought it on Amazon, okay? And
All right.
if you want the affiliate link, let me know, guys. But I can't wait to show you. It's ridiculous.
And this scarf is something that I wore recently, and if you'd like the link to buy that now.
You sound like Meghan. You sound like Meghan. Okay, and watch me on Cristo show Sunday morning on Talk TV.
Oh yeah, they usually throw out a YouTube of that as well. So Kinsey does my show at 5:30 UK time, which is very early in the morning, on a Sunday morning here in the UK. What time is that where you are?
It's 9:30 for me at night on Saturday.
But yeah, so whatever time is 5:30 in the morning UK time, then on the Talk TV YouTube, you'll see Kinsey and I doing 30 minutes then as well. What we'll talk about on the day after tomorrow, I've no idea.
We'll
We'll
just be
find
like,
something.
remember on our podcast when we said this amazing thing? We made this great point too. Well, God knows where Meghan will show up. So she's a woman on the prowl these days. She's back on the scene. So we'll keep you updated. We'll have Meghan watch again. You can do her
Back on the
fashion watch like you
scene
used to.
in beige, a vision in the color that she was banned from wearing.
All right, we love you guys. Bye.